Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.
Hello, welcome to Ganesh AS Academy. This is the special session. In this session, we are going to discuss about the previous year economy UPSC mains question. So, this session is purely focused on how to approach the upcoming mains exam and what are the terminologies you need to know, and also how to address the question based on that terminology, because you know what is sustainable development, you know what is inclusive growth, you know what is structural transition, everything you know, but based on that terminology answer will vary. So the terminology that plays a huge role in the mains exam. And also when it comes to the mains exam, it's not that about what do you know about that topic. It is the question what it is asking, based on that only you have to answer the question. Okay, so it is not about listing what are the things you know. This is about the question is what it is asking, and you have to give in a structural manner. So that are the more important thing you need to know about the UPSC mains exam. We will discuss certain things about that, and also how to approach the question, and also how to structure the answer, and what are the things you can add to that answer to enrich your answer, and also to make a higher possibility of scoring, higher possibility of mark. So all these things will be discussed here. Okay, so let's begin the session. This is the question. It was asked in 2014. Still this question has the relevance for today's possibility, because still India has the huge growth of service sector, and there is a lower growth in the manufacturing sector. Okay, so by the way, still this question have the relevance today. Even they can use this questions keywords to make a question for a present day scenario. So this question is somewhat more important, so we are going to discuss that. Normally countries shift from the agriculture to industry and then later to the services, but India shifted directly from the agriculture to services. Okay, so this is the first statement. Primary to secondary to tertiary. This is the way the growth will be there, but when it comes to India, it is shifted from primary to tertiary. Next, what are the reasons for the huge growth services with respect to the industries in the country? Second, why services grow and manufacturing downfall? Next, can India become a developed country without a strong industrial base? Third question is developed India. With services and also without manufacturing, whether it is possible or not. So in this question there are three sub questions, and also you need to know certain keywords. First is the shift. Normally the shift primary to secondary to tertiary is called as structural transition. Okay, but when it comes to India, there is a lack of structural transition. Suddenly India jumped from the primary to the tertiary sector. That is the first thing you need to know. And then the question is asking about the reason for the growth of the service sector. So you need to know what are the reasons that contribute to the growth of the service sector, and also you have to speak about what are the reasons that led to the downfall of the manufacturing sector. That is also you need to give in this answer. Next, can India become a developed country without strong industrial base? So in this question, what are the factual data you must know to address this question is first, contributions to GDP by various sectors, which means primary, secondary and tertiary. So contributions by these sectors to the India's GDP. This is the first factual data you should know. Without knowing that, you can't address this question, and also the examiner will search for this data. It is one of the important data you need to quote. Okay, and then other than that, next factual data you must know is what are the policy measures that led to the growth of the services and also the downfall of the manufacturing sector. That is also you need to quote. So these are the certain important things you need to know, and also you need to quote while you are addressing this question. Okay, so these are certain things before you are getting into the answer you need to know. So in the initial time period of reading this question, within the 10 to 15 seconds, you need to brainstorm all these things. You have to list within your minds, within your brain, you have to brainstorm all these things and you have to fix this. You have to create a structure. How I am going to address this question? You need to create a structure within your mind, and then you have to start to write. First is intro part. Here in the intro, you can quote that India lacks the structural transition. These are the certain keywords you need to use when it comes to the economy. These are the most important thing. Or else you can quote that India is facing the earlier deindustrialization. In reality, deindustrialization happens after the growth of the industrialization, next to the growth of the services sector. After that, the services sector become the huge thing, and that led to the growth of the AI, IoT. That led to the downfall of the IoT. That led to the downfall of the manufacturing sector. That is how the deindustrialization will happen. But in reality, India just shifted from the primary to tertiary, and that led to the downfall of the secondary sector. So that is called as deindustrialization or premature deindustrialization, earlier deindustrialization. So these are the way you can give the intro, or else you can simply quote the GDP contribution from the manufacturing sector and the GDP contribution from the tertiary sector. That is also a one way of intro. So there are the three possibilities I am giving to you for an intro. Other than that, it's up to you. It's your innovative idea, it's a creative idea, but that intro should be somewhat connected to this question. So these are the things that are important. Next thing, what is the body of the answer? Okay, so what is the body of the answer? So normally the country shift from and India shifted from directly from the agriculture to services. What are the reasons for the huge growth in the services with respect to the industries? So you can say what led to the downfall of the manufacturing sector. First you have to quote that. Next, what led to the growth of the services sector? Next you have to quote that. So these are the things are the part of the body of the answer. So first thing, the reason for the deindustrialization is, first thing is it's a poor infrastructure. Even though India is having the huge road density, now we are speaking about the inland waterways and we are speaking about the Udan scheme that is led to the air transport. So all these things are we are doing. Still India is in a poor infrastructural stage when comparing to the most of the developing and developed countries. So that lead to the deindustrialization, premature deindustrialization, because consider that there is a raw material, and then there is a manufacturer, so raw material and then the industry and then the market. So all these three things are need to be connected either through any roadways or else the inland waterways or airways or railways. If it is not connected, means how it will going to produces the goods and how it is going to deal with the consumer. How it is going to deal with the consumer? So the connection is lagging, poor infrastructure. That is the major issue lead to the fall of the secondary sector. So even though if the manufacturing company is producing the goods, that lead to the price will be much higher when compared to the imports. So people tend to buy the cheap and affordable goods than the product that are produced in India, because in India the production cost is higher. That led to the price rise in the product. So the people are not ready to consume the Indian product. The reason is the price factor. So that led to, consider that there is no demand for an Indian product means there is no demand for the product that are produced in India means how the manufacturer will produce the goods. They won't do the production activities. Without a demand, how they will produce and supply it to the market. So that led to the closing of the many of the industries. So all this is due to the poor infrastructural reason. First thing. Next, bureaucratic hurdles. Exactly. When there is a before the LPG era in 1991, the huge economic reform happened in 1991. Before that, 1991, there was a issue called as license Raj. If you need to start any company means you need to go through the tedious process of licensing. So it is a hectic process. And also there are many laws, okay, labor laws, environment laws, even you have to manage the municipal laws. So you have to get certification and then clearance from every these organizations of the departments of the governments. Then only you can start the industries. So that leads to the delay in the starting of their company. That led to the downfall of the industrial sector. And also major issue is credit facility. If you have a idea of starting any new business, you have a certain innovative idea, okay, so if you need to make it in real means you need certain investments. For that you can go for a loan activity, but the bank is not ready to credit you due to the earlier issues of the NPA. They are not ready to credit you. And also there is a issue of the FDI. So that leads to the fall of the manufacturing sector. Now we are trying to address it with Startup India, Stand Up India, Digital India. We are trying to promote a lot of things. There is a scheme called as PM Muntra scheme. It is only for a MSME sector. So by the way, we are trying to do that. But even though we are trying at the present day, but the fall of the industrial sector in the earlier issues, it's due to this thing. Next most important thing is high cost of business. Yeah, okay. Then high cost of logistics. You have to note the data. When it comes to other countries, okay, consider that it is a developed countries or else a developing countries, the logistic cost is around 6 to 7% of their GDP. But when it comes to India, the logistic cost is 12 to 13% of GDP. So if the logistic cost is higher means obviously that lead to the increases in the price of the commodities. So that tend to increases the price. So people are not ready to consume the products that are produced in India. So these are the major concerns. Next, poor ease of doing business. We already discussed that. Next, outdated industrial policy. Exactly. The last industrial policy was announced in 1991. Afterwards, there is no new industrial policy. In present day, what we are doing is sector-wise policies. We are doing. Even though we are doing the sector-wise policies, there is a need for a holistic industrial policy. Last holistic industrial policy was given in 1991. Afterwards, there is no new industrial policy. That is one of the major issues. Now we are doing that production linked incentives. There are many things we are doing that. That is the thing that are trying to address the specific sectoral issue. Even though we are trying to address the sectoral issue, still there is a need for the holistic plan. That is possibly be given by only through this industrial policy. Next, high import duties on the raw material. This is the one of the major factors. The custom duties on the raw material is higher means how the industry will produce the goods. That is also the major concern when it comes to India. So these are the reasons led to the fall of the manufacturing sector in India. At the same time, there are the certain things that contributed to the growth of the services sector in India. First point, you can easily say that it is due to the colonial backlog. It is due to the outcome of the colonial thing. We are able to communicate in English. So the communication that played an important role for the growth of this in India. That is one of the major things you have to accept that. Other than that, the reason is liberalization. The LPG era. In that LPG, the major thing is the G, globalization. That led to the free movement of the goods, at the same time the services and also people. So the services sector that move into India and also service sector that is move out of the India. So there is a thing called as outsourcing. So developed countries, what they do is they will outsource certain services things to India. So by the way, there is a huge growth in the services sector. Next, skilled labor force, which means we are well versed in speaking English and also we are well versed in using the computers. I am not saying that programming languages. I am just saying that at the time period of 1991. So at the time period, the usage of the telecom, internet, and also India's another positive thing is the digital India and then the telecom sectors. So all this contributed to the growth of the service sector in India. So these are the major things that contributed to the growth of the services sector. Okay, so you addressed two parts of the question, two sub part of the question. Now next question is, can India become a developed country without a strong industrial base? This is the most important thing. Even though it is asking us can, which means give your opinion, you should say that it is not possible to be a developed country without the contribution of the manufacturing sector. That is the only answer. There is not another side of the answer. Okay, so in reality, without the contribution of the manufacturing sector, India can't become a developed country. The reason is informal sector in India. Okay, so without the manufacturing sector's growth, consider that there is a agricultural laborer due to any issue, climatic issue, flood, anything, monsoonal failure, okay, continuous monsoon failure for more than 2 to 3 years. At that scenario, that person need to move to urban area to do certain job, to earn certain money. In this scenario, whether he can easily get into the service sector, it is not at all possible. When it comes to services sector, we need certain things. Okay, so we need certain things like you need to know how to communicate. You need certain skills when it comes to the service sector. But consider that if it is there is a manufacturing sector. Consider there is a mill, cotton mill, or is there a textile mills, okay, or is a cement manufacturing industry, anything. In that scenario, he can do certain labor activity in that industry. So manufacturing sector is, it's inevitable. It should be there. Without manufacturing sector, you can't mobilize the people. That is the major thing. You have to accept that. You can't take the people from the primary sector and you can't easily place them in the services sector. So only there is the mediator called as manufacturing sector. They have to act. So, and also India has the huge population that is rest as the informal sector. Around 90% of the people belongs to the informal sector. To make them formal, you need to place them in the manufacturing sector. That is the only possibility. So if you want to make them formal, means why we need to make them in the formalization of the sector, means by the way they won't face any unemployment issues, okay, and also they will get the social benefits, insurance facilities, pension schemes. So all these things will be provided to them. By the way, that will contribute to the development of the country. If there is a frequent issue of unemployment in that market, means how India will become a developed country? The chain will be not connected. So only there is a need for the growth of the manufacturing sector. You have to address this question in that way. Afterwards, you have to say certain things to promote the manufacturing sector. Government is doing this thing. They are promoting the SEZ, okay, and now they are promoting the EEZ, employment economic zone. So there are many things the government is trying to do that, and also they are promoting the inland waterways, and also they are creating the freight corridors, and also they have the air transport facilities. So the government is trying to promote all these things to overcome these issues and promote the manufacturing sector. And also the government introduced the GST. By the way, they introduced the e-way bills. So by the way, it is going to overcome the issue of the spending time in the toll gates. So all this thing is going to contribute to the growth of the manufacturing sector. So you have to say that in a positive note that government is doing these things, that is going to contribute to the development of the manufacturing sector. By the way, the India is going to be a developed country. Or else you can say that India will achieve the 5 trillion economy within a short time period. You can say in that way also. So these are the ways you have to address the question. So this is the structure you need to follow. Okay, thank you.